follow me on Twitter at what was your opinion on Steve Perry siding with Ross Valory, Steve Smith, in their attempt to take over the Journey name. I assume this pretty much ends any and all hope of him ever reuniting with Sean Kane. Thanks, Bill in Concord, North Carolina. Bill, I had not seen that. I wish I could be talking to you right now because I'd love to know where you read that and what you heard. I don't know if Steve posted that on social media or if it was something that he did in an interview, but I have not read that he sided with the two guys booted out of Journey. Steve Perry clearly wants no part of Journey. He went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He refused to sing. He made a gracious speech. He kept his distance, and that was that. When Steve Perry first returned to music, we had him in the studio on this very show. It's an interview that I heard from many people was one of their favorites I ever did. And I appreciate that greatly. I think it was pretty obvious at that time for Steve that he was not interested in reuniting with Journey or doing much, in that area. I can tell you during that time, and I don't know if I ever spoke about this, but because the first interview Steve did when he came back was here on this show, it was a big newsworthy moment. I mean, people were not only fans, but the industry was listening to that, and so was Neil Schon. Neil sent me a direct message through Twitter and asked me to relay some info to Steve and said he hadn't talked to him in years and he was happy he was back. It was all very cordial, but it was, it struck me as pretty obvious that Neil Schon was hitting me up to get him kind of in touch with Steve. And I showed Steve the text from Neil off air and said, Neil would love, and Steve was not dismissive about it, but just kind of like, yeah, I know, and sort of on to the next. So there's clearly something sort of disconnected there. I think we've seen the last of Steve Perry ever being a member of Journey. The question that I have is, and I don't know the dynamic, and I don't know anything about him, as Bill says in this email, siding with Valory and Smith. I don't know what he's going for from that or where he's getting that from. I'm sure somewhere. But I think it's pretty obvious we've seen the last of Steve Perry singing or having anything to do with Journey, which he hasn't been a part of for a very long time. The bigger question I have for Steve Perry is, have we seen the last of him ever singing live? Because he put out that record, he put out a Christmas record, and to date, he has not done one live show. Not even a TV appearance singing live on a late night TV show. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's a level of uncertainty about his voice. You would be surprised that some of these guys, their head messes with them a little bit. They get insecure. They worry what people are going to say. They worry if people have expectations that they're going to sound exactly like they did 40 years ago. And Steve was refreshingly honest when I did that interview with him. And that might be another one we should replay at some point, where I asked him point blank, could he sing those songs still? And he was refreshingly, brilliantly honest in saying, yeah, but I'd have to tune down, which there's no shame in at all. And, there were those clips of him singing the national anthem at a Giants game, or he got up and sang with that band. Was it the Eels or something? So he's done little things like that, but never a concentrated, I'm going to go out and sing a brand new song with a band live anywhere. And I don't know what that's about, but it's very, very hard to sell new music if you can't or are not willing to do that. So where his career goes now that he kind of put his foot back in the water is going to be really interesting to watch. But clearly it's not anything to do with Journey. And we'll see if he makes another solo record. And certainly if he put a band together and went out and sang some Journey and solo songs, it would certainly be more than successful. You could imagine the business it would do on the casino circuit, house